你好大的胆子！杀我天圣脚必反。
这人抓不得！
不好了！皇帝也在圣教暗查里眼线。
将那狐狸和狮子拿下，带回大理寺。
按律，满门抄斩。
Qin Mu and Yu Yuan Chu Yu exchanged polite greetings. With a hint of embarrassment, Qin Mu admitted that he actually came from the Great Ruins. Yu Yuan Chu Yu nodded calmly, explaining that she had already suspected something was different about him. There had never been a family with the surname Qin in the Riverbank County. Only after reading the letter from her older brother did she finally learn the truth about Qin Mu's origins. The other scholars were shocked. They never expected Qin Mu to have such a personal connection with a high-ranking official like the young judge of Lizhou. More than that, Yu Yuan Chu Yu was revealed to be the former princess of the fallen Yu Yuan Empire, an identity that left everyone speechless. Qin Mu then asked about the current situation of the Immortal Corpse sect. Yu Yuan Chu Yu replied calmly, "Most of them have already been wiped out. However, a few managed to escape toward the south." She led everyone to the top of the city wall and pointed toward the distant lands. "Many rebel forces are gathering in this region. What you see now is only the tip of the iceberg." The scholars were puzzled by her words. Seeing their confusion, Yu Yuan Chu Yu continued in a steady tone. "In times like these, it's impossible to tell who is truly loyal and who will betray us tomorrow. Even I, a former princess of a defeated empire, cannot escape suspicion." Her bitter remark sent a chill through the group. Yunku hesitated before asking nervously, "Then, will the young judge rebel?" Yu Yuan Chu Yu answered with a cold smile and a sharp, teasing reply. The fear among them deepened instantly. Without further explanation, she summoned a general and ordered him to deploy 1,000 soldiers. Leading the army herself, she walked toward the river. One by one, the soldiers followed her across the water, their footsteps steady as they moved without sinking. Qin Mu quickly followed, stabilizing himself using his vital energy. With a light laugh, he said, "Senior sister, don't scare everyone like that." Chen Wanyun and the others followed behind, though walking on water drained their strength rapidly. As they moved forward, Yu Yuan Chu Yu suddenly asked, "Qin Mu, do you really believe I won't rebel?" Qin Mu answered calmly, "I know how intelligent you are. You clearly understand the schemes of the imperial tutors. If you were foolish, you would have already taken up arms long ago." The woman fell silent for a moment before giving a faint nod. "Many have tried to persuade me to rebel," she admitted at last. "But I refused." The Yu Yuan Empire had always valued its people more than the throne itself. When the Eternal Peace Empire rose to power, Yu Yuan chose to surrender, not out of fear of defeat, but to prevent a devastating civil war. Yu Yuan Chu Yu recalled a crucial meeting with the imperial tutor, a gathering where all high officials and their families were present. They had debated the future path of the nation and the true meaning of leadership. In the end, the Yu Yuan side lost that argument. Her father surrendered the throne, but not to his son. Instead, he offered it to her. Yet in the end, she refused it. Instead, she challenged the imperial tutor directly. "If your rule fails the people," she had said back then, "I will rise in rebellion." The imperial tutor accepted this condition and granted her authority over the Lizhou prefecture. Hearing this, Hu Linger cried out in shock. "So that means you were once a female emperor?" Yu Yuan Chuyu nodded lightly with a faint smile. Yes, but being an emperor is not as glorious as it sounds. Anyone can call themselves an emperor. The real question is, who truly has the ability to rule? Then her gaze shifted to Qin Mu. She praised him openly, saying that the scholars were fortunate to be traveling with him. The group was stunned. They couldn't understand where such high praise came from. Yu Yuan Chuyu then recalled an incident from the northern lands. Long ago, she had discovered traces of a mysterious battle, along with the poisoned corpses of members from the Immortal Corpse sect. Even back then, she had already suspected that Qin Mu was the one behind it, remembering how cunning he had been when he once asked her to write a special letter of permission. Because of that, she firmly believed one thing. Following Qin Mu was far safer than following the Imperial Directorate. Soon, they arrived at a ruined city on the opposite side of the river. Yu Yuan Chuyu narrowed her eyes and spoke in a low voice. This destruction was far too easy. It feels like a trap. Qin Mu immediately sensed it as well. So the enemy may have deliberately abandoned this city. Yu Yuan Chuyu nodded. This is not the end. 3 ancient monsters who once injured the imperial tutor have yet to appear. There are also other powerful figures, no less dangerous. And it's even possible that some gods from the ancient generations are still lurking in the shadows. Her words sent chills down their spines. But seeing the fear on their faces, Yu Yuan Chuyu quickly added in a calm tone. Relax. As long as we stay clear-headed, we still have a chance. Yu Yuan Chuyu explained that those ancient monsters were not interested in young cultivators like them. Their true targets were powerful elites. For now, their real enemy was only the remnants of the 9 Ghost sect, a rebel sect that had already been defeated once before. However, its survivors were still roaming freely. She assigned Qin Mu and the others to hunt them down. Before sending them off, Yu Yuan Chuyu gave a serious warning. The 9 Ghost sect is skilled at disguising themselves as gods and demons. They claim to be able to summon supernatural beings. When the time comes, you must be fully prepared. Her words shocked Qin Mu. Instantly, 2 ancient spells from the Heavenly Record Pavilion surfaced in his mind: the Soul Guidance Art and the Divine Dispatch Rune for ghost transfer. Both methods were deeply connected to spirits and souls. The first originated from the Grand Mountain sect, while the second came from the 9 Ghost sect. Both techniques were considered strange and unpopular. They lacked strong offensive power, making most cultivators dismiss them as impractical. When practiced, their effects resembled a modified version of a basic ghost shifting technique, only with far more complicated methods. Qin Mu once sought guidance from Chancellor Basan to study these spells. However, the Chancellor dismissed the idea immediately, calling them useless. Left with no other choice, Qin Mu studied their meanings on his own. Through this, he discovered that the Divine Dispatch Rune required a special talisman artifact of extreme complexity. The structure contained over 1,000 uneven symbolic surfaces, far more elaborate than ordinary talismans, even surpassing the refined artifacts of the Golden Roland Talus. At first, Qin Mu believed that such complexity must represent overwhelming power. But reality proved otherwise. The actual effect of the spell fell far short of expectations. This contradiction led him to a shocking suspicion. Perhaps the Grand Mountain sect had deliberately hidden the true power of this technique. The rune might have been altered on purpose, so the imperial court would never be able to fully comprehend or master its real potential. Even so, among the thousands of runes within the divine dispatch technique, most of them were still accurate. Qin Mu treated this as a priceless treasure of knowledge and used it to correct the flaws within the soul guidance art. After revising more than 600 runic formations inside the soul guiding spell, Qin Mu finally decided it was time to test his results. He asked a nearby soldier, "Is there any corpse I can use for an experiment?" The soldier hesitated for a moment before answering. The bodies of the 9 ghost sect members were buried in several locations, including Deer Mountain and a graveyard near Riverbank County. The moment Qin Mu heard this, his expression changed. Something felt terribly wrong. He immediately ordered the army to mobilize and burn all those corpses before anything worse could happen. However, the young judge in charge of the area had already left for Riverbank County ahead of time. Without hesitation, Qin Mu sent an urgent warning message. Then he gathered Chen Wanyun and the others and spoke gravely. The 9 ghost sect may rise again. Some of them didn't believe it. They were convinced that the sect had already been completely destroyed. But at that exact moment, a faint chanting sound drifted in from the river. The voice was low, eerie, and hollow, like a call from the realm of the dead. It felt as though the gates of the underworld had been opened, releasing the souls of the departed back into the living world. Qin Mu rushed toward the northern gate at once. What he saw made his heart sink. A Taoist stood on a small boat in the middle of the surging river, chanting steadily. Brilliant green runes spiraled around him like living serpents made of light. Chen Wanyun and the others arrived just in time to witness thick black mist rising violently from the river surface. From within that mist, a gigantic gate slowly emerged, floating in mid-air and radiating an aura from a completely different world. Suddenly, the sky darkened. One by one, the ships carrying the scholars were swallowed by the creeping darkness. Screams and chaos erupted from inside the ships. At the same time, Qin Mu saw Deer Mountain crack open. Countless small figures emerged from within the broken terrain and rushed to attack Deer County. The soldiers guarding the western gate didn't even have time to react. They were frozen in place by yellow talismans before undead creatures suddenly appeared and slaughtered them brutally. The city gate was shattered in an instant, and the undead army flooded into the city. These creatures were already dead. Yet their souls had been forcibly dragged back into their ruined bodies through the soul guidance spell. With broken flesh and shattered bones, they rose again, still wielding the same terrifying strength they once had in life. Their appearances were horrifying. Some had missing flesh. Some had gaping holes in their chests. Yet all of them continued to fight without fear or pain. From the top of the city tower, Chen Wanyun and the others could only stand frozen in shock, forced to witness the nightmare unfolding below. Qin Mu's expression darkened. Deer County had fallen. Without hesitation, he called for He Linger and the Qilin dragon, then made a swift decision. "We retreat through the eastern gate, now!" As they fled, Qin Mu saw a general at the heavenly creature realm being torn apart by the undead right before his eyes. At the same time, several Taoists could be seen moving through the sky, holding burning yellow talisman papers. That sight confirmed the worst truth. An alliance had been formed between the Immortal Corpse sect and the 9 Ghost sect. One controlled the body. The other controlled the soul. Chen Wanyun suggested retreating back to Riverbank County. But Qin Mu immediately rejected the idea. No, too many corpses sank into the river. If we go back, they'll rise as well. The moment those words left his mouth, corpses began emerging from the water. One after another, soaked undead figures crawled up from the river and charged straight toward them. Qin Mu made his decision instantly. We head south, toward the border. Summoning his waveform sword manifestation, he unleashed a deadly attack, cutting through the undead with overwhelming force. Bodies fell in pieces under his blade. But what happened next left everyone stunned. Some of the headless corpses calmly picked up their severed heads and tucked them under their arms, still able to scream and call for reinforcements. A chill ran through everyone's bones. Everyone except one. Xi Yunxiang remained perfectly calm. Qin Mu swiftly altered the formation of his sword into a spiraling pattern, slicing through the enemies at lightning speed. As the last undead figures fell, he shouted to the others, "Move now, before the experts of the ghost sect catch up." Without hesitation, they fled into the thick darkness. Yongku glanced back at the burning city behind them, his heart struck with grief and disbelief. Their next destination was the southern border, yet that very place was now firmly within enemy territory. The black fog grew thicker and heavier, turning midday into something resembling night. Even so, Qin Mu and his group could still determine their direction, though the sun overhead appeared only as a faint, distorted shadow. The once green mountains faded into pitch-black silhouettes beneath the suffocating mist, creating an overwhelming sense of dread. Suddenly, panicked shouts erupted from behind them. Voices cried out that several beings had escaped, including a massive lion. The strange cries spoke of lost heads and wandering bodies, as if coming from creatures that were already dead, yet still capable of speech. Hearing this, Qin Mu and Chen Wanyun exchanged a quick look. Qin Mu gave a subtle hand signal. At once, Chen Wanyun dropped flat into a narrow pit he hastily carved into the ground with his sword. Though his heart pounded with fear, he forced himself to stay calm. Qin Mu swept earth over him with his sleeve, carefully burying and concealing him. The others continued moving forward as if nothing had happened. Moments later, horrifying screams echoed from behind, filled with confusion, terror, and chaos. The strange voices rang out as if headless beings were searching desperately for their missing heads, or legless creatures were struggling to keep walking. The uproar sounded like something born directly from the realm of death. Qin Mu brought the Qilin dragon mount to a halt. Chen Wanyun, who had narrowly escaped the ambush, quickly rejoined them, confirming that no pursuers remained in sight. Yet before anyone could breathe in relief, a strange chanting sound drifted through the fog. This time, it was even more terrifying than before. Qin Mu immediately ordered the group to stop and quietly advance to investigate the source of the sound. What he saw chilled him to the bone. Several undead figures stood deep within the dark forest, singing in hollow voices while chanting spells. With broken bodies and shattered limbs, they were still performing the soul guidance technique, as if stubbornly resisting their return to the world of the dead. Their ruined forms swayed in the darkness, yet the power of their ritual continued to spread. Qin Mu froze as realization struck him. This power most likely belonged to the Nine Ghost Sect, a cult that studied the boundary between life and death itself. However, their art was still imperfect. They couldn't truly revive the dead. At best, they could only delay a soul's departure to the afterlife. That meant one thing. The undead had to continue chanting in order to keep moving. Without the soul guidance spell, they would truly perish once and for all. Understanding this weakness, Qin Mu chose to avoid direct confrontation. He quietly retreated and returned to his group. Not long after, they encountered several disciples from both the Nine Ghost sect and the Immortal Corpse sect. Their followers used talismans and zombies to hunt down the soldiers who had escaped from the fallen city. Seeing the danger ahead, Qin Mu immediately changed their route and led everyone toward Deer Mountain instead. He was confident that the place would now be empty, already looted and abandoned. Even so, fear continued to grip the group. Wherever they went, traces of those two dark sects could be found.